everybody, it's Lesley Dale back with Johnny Smith, Songbirds. So you guys hopefully saw us earlier. It was a big moment for you.
Yeah, huge moment.
Tell everybody what happened earlier, and you can go back on our Facebook and see, and then we're going to tell you why we're here. This is really like a secretive, cool thing.
Yeah, totally cool. I hope you go back and look at it. But we put up one of the largest neon signs that's ever been put in Chattanooga, so we hope it's going to become an iconic landmark. And so seeing it go in the building today was a big, momentous occasion. We've been working on getting that built for several months, and today we got to see it go up. So it was pretty exciting.
So behind the Choo Choo, off Market, downtown Chattanooga, Songbirds, huge. How many feet?
It's 47 feet and something tall. I think
Neon
13, 14 feet.
Sign.
Yeah,
it's pretty
2 tons.
Bad stuff in the best of ways. So.
Yeah, and I don't want it to diminish. We actually have 2 more neon signs on there as well that are 13 feet wide, 9 feet tall, that are kind of like bookmarking the end of the building so you can see the substantiality of how big we are. So those are pretty sick too when you see them lit up. So
that'll be awesome, and you know that just adds to the whole Station Street near the Revelry Room and Track 29 and all of that. But what we're doing here is giving you a first exclusive look at some of the guitars that are going to go into perhaps the world's rarest guitar museum.
That's correct.
Right here in Chattanooga. So that is huge, you guys. This is super cool for Chattanooga. So this area is your recording studio.
Yeah.
Top secret.
Yeah, a little bit. Nobody knows about it much, but we've built it. Yeah, now you do. We've built this facility to just enhance the experience for some of the musicians that will be coming, and we hope to be able to give them an opportunity. You can tell we've been photographing some of our guitars here for some of our media partners, but this is a place that we hope to leverage some musicians when they're in town to not only stay at Songbirds and see some of the guitars, but maybe we do some recordings and things like that. We've done some cool stuff here already, but you know, we just kind of keep that stuff private as much as possible. So this is kind of my world, the drumming world. So I'm really proud of all this. Yeah, I'm a drummer, not a guitar. But to my credit, Leo Fender, who invented the guitar, essentially was not a drummer. I mean, sorry, was not a guitar player either. He was a engineer, and so he didn't play guitar. So I'll take credit for that as well. I'm not a guitar player, but getting to do some fun stuff.
So cool. So we're gonna go into the area where the guitars, some of the first guitars you guys have been collecting. I mean, collecting. Your partner David said he's been collecting this for almost 20 years to go into this space, and you guys, you know, thought about it for a long time. Like, where are we gonna put this really cool, the world's rarest guitar museum, and you chose Chattanooga. Like, why Chattanooga?
Well, you know, going to the other cities, it was kind of like one of the things that we noticed.
Darkness.
One of the things that we noticed from we can actually, let's go out this door here, and we'll actually take you upstairs, which is another facility where we are. So just follow me.
Okay, you guys know how this goes. We're real, you know, on the fly. Okay.
So you know, you asked about Chattanooga.
Yeah.
We have been, you know, really interested in trying to find cities that need us as much as we need them, and it just felt like, you know, Nashville and New York and Seattle and Austin, I mean, they already kind of have things, and looking at Chattanooga growth patterns that we've had, I think it just makes sense to come here. I think, you know, Chattanooga can use us. We want to be embraced here, be something different than what we've had with, you know, great music, but have something where it really is beyond just a venue or beyond just people playing music. And I think having something of history with music here, because there's so many historic musicians that have come from here, and so much musical history from here, from the Impressions and Bessie Smith. I mean, we're talking about some huge people. So I think Chattanooga just kind of felt right, if nothing else. And we did studies, and Chattanooga looked like Chattanooga could support it, and so we're here.
Definitely, the music scene is so evident that it's growing.
This is kind of an exclusive place here. So the only people that have been here are some pretty cool artists, and we haven't released all those videos yet, but come on in. Yeah, ladies first.
Wow, thank you. I feel privileged.
So we're already live.
I'm watching you live down.
Hi.
Are we good so far? How do you like it?
Good.
This
So,
is David.
It is David Davidson. He's our COO and curator. And you actually will see some prints here. You'll see some prints here of our actual guitars. That some of these you will see in the museum. But there's some
Many of them.
pretty iconic pieces here. David can, that one happens to be my favorite. I don't know if David can tell you who it belonged to or not.
This was Wanda Jackson's 1954 Stratocaster that was painted in shell pink, which is a color that was done just for her at the time, and didn't become a standardized color until 1960. And it's probably the rarest of all Fender colored guitars.
Yeah, first year of the Stratocaster, by the way, and Wanda Jackson's one of the pioneers of women in rock and roll, so I think that's kind of cool. It's a very historic, significant piece.
And this Telecaster belonged to Alvino Ray, who was the guitar player when you were a kid. They may have still had the King Family Christmas and shows like that on. He was the guitar player. He was a band leader and guitar player. This we loved.
I love that.
We just loved the case because the guitar had really been everywhere, and I just loved it. And it's just a wonderful looking Fender Broadcaster, which is one of the first, or the first official model of Fender Guitar Company.
Okay.
This guitar here in this photo, this guitar is a 1959 Fender Stratocaster, and the color is called Fiesta Red. Some people kind of call it a salmon color, but it's Fiesta Red. And this guitar was made for Bill Carson, who was a Fender executive and actually a president of Fender for a while. Has a very thin neck because he had a very small hand.
Oh.
So the guitar was made specifically that way, and that's in the collection.
Hey, and let me interject, David, if I can. We just spoke with Bill Carson's wife. He has since passed, but his wife lives about 2 hours from here. When she found out we had this guitar, she was extremely emotional and wanted to see it. She asked if she could come down and spend some time with it, which of course we're going to grant. But that just shows the impact that these guitars have had on people's lives and things like that. I mean, for her husband, this is a piece of his legacy, and it's just, I can't wait for more stories like that to happen.
Awesome.
You know, it's pretty cool.
Stories behind them. So we're seeing all these beautiful pictures. So
Yeah.
you guys
But
are
now-
teasing me, like the
We'll
build
show you
up.
now. We'll show
Yes,
you.
the real thing. I want the real thing.
Yeah, here's a little example.
This is just a small example, and I just always loved the way this wall looked and portrayed the guitars, and I can kind of run you through them, and then if you have any questions, we can discuss each one if you like.
Okay.
But, you know, basically, starting at the top row.
Is that the one in the picture?
Almost.
Almost.
Same color, so that was great observation, but it is a different guitar.
Because the top of it's different.
Right, the top
That's
is
right.
not a painted headstock.
Good eye.
The headstock is plain. Good observation. Okay, so that's actually in 1962. It's a little bit later, but cosmetically pretty much the same.
Fiesta Red.
Fiesta Red. That is a standard blonde, which is the most common or the standard color for a Telecaster, and that's a 1967. That's a little bit later, but it's a great playing guitar, especially because we host guests up here. We host a lot of musicians up here. We want to give them a nice array of guitars to kind
Definitely.
of fool with. The next row, this guitar here is a Les Paul TV Special, and the reason why they call it a TV Special, think about it. Why would they call it a TV Special?
Play
a
it on-
TV guitar.
Play it for TV.
Right, but
Yes.
if you were in a black tuxedo and you were playing a black
Oh,
guitar,
it
you wouldn't
shows.
see it.
Oh,
So they
it
use
does
that
because
color
okay.
specifically
Cool.
to be used on television.
Like a
Okay.
camouflage kind of.
Right, so
Not
now
to
you
distract.
can see it. Now you can
Cool.
see it. There was a contrast on black and white TV.
I like that one.
That's a Les Paul Jr.,
Cool.
kind of in the same family as that TV Special.
Yeah.
But it's just, this was the cheapest Gibson electric guitar. This was a student
Oh, really?
model guitar.
Oh, cool.
Okay, and it was basically a tuned down version of the Gibson Les Paul standard. Okay.
Doesn't
and
have to
then-
be expensive to be cool.
No, and they're actually, a lot of great music were recorded with these guitars, and because they were inexpensive in the 1960s, the resurgence had many bands playing them on albums. They sound unbelievable, and it's not always about price.
Right.
It has nothing to do with it.
No.
This guitar over here is a 1952 Fender Telecaster. This is one of the most copied guitars. Well, a lot of people, when they start to make guitars, when they start their own companies, they mimic that design because it's very simple. Okay, this is total utilitarian in its looks, and the idea is that you can make this guitar pretty much with a bandsaw. It doesn't take all that much, simple electronics that you can buy, but the fact of the matter is there's no replacement. Now this guitar is 60 years old or plus, okay, and you're talking about wood that was probably cut 20 years before the guitar was made. It was dried naturally in the air, so you're talking about a guitar that's got some serious wood on it, some old wood.
Big deal.
Famous for the early days of Chuck Berry is an ES350T.
Pretty.
Before he went to a different model called an ES355, and this is just a laminate maple, and this little doohickey here is called a Bigsby. It's a vibrola, and it shortens or
Oh, cool.
so you get that wah wah sound. This is a Gibson 335. This is a prototype, not prototypical type of guitar that you would see like a guy like Eric Clapton play back in like the Cream days.
Awesome.
This was that model. This is one of the best guitars here. It's just a wonderful sounding instrument. Everybody gravitates towards it when they play here.
They're all so beautiful and have so many stories behind them. Are all of these going to go into the museum, or some of them?
Actually, there's only, I think I'm only slated 3 of these will actually make it to the museum.
Why? How do you decide?
Well, it's a combination of rarity, condition, and playability. In other words, those are the 3 things that we look for when we buy a guitar for the collection. It has to have a certain amount of rarity to it. We don't want something too common that you could see anywhere else. So many of the guitars that we're putting in the museum are many one-of-a-kinds and many prototypes that people have never seen before. And I can't stress that enough. There's plenty of places to go and see guitars on display, whether it's vintage music stores, vintage guitar shops, whatever. But when you come to this museum, you'll see so many guitars that you'll never have a chance to see anywhere else.
Okay, show me, give me some of those.
Okay, well...
Wait, is this one really cool?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. This is a Fender Jazz Bass.
Is that not one of them, though?
1964. No, this is going to go.
It is, yay!
This is going to go. This is a 64 Jazz Bass, and the color is called Sonic Blue. What they would do, and I think Johnny mentioned it earlier, is that what they would do is they would use DuPont automotive finishes to color these guitars. They had 10 standard colors that started in 1960 and went through 1965, and then they started a new rung of colors that went from 1965 to 1970. So this color is one of the more scarce colors. Okay, it has the matching headstock, which is a very cool feature. You paid extra for that. And the color cost you 5% more. So let's say, for instance, if this bass was $250 new, you had to add another 5% just to get that color. Otherwise, it would come in a sunburst color similar to the bass on the end, which is a precision bass.
Okay.
A little different model. This one. That sunburst is a standard color.
Gotcha.
So if you ordered that guitar, you went into a music store, that's the color you'd find on the wall for sale. If you wanted something like that, you'd have to pay extra. That's why they're scarce. Okay, I can't consider that rare, but I consider it scarce.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very interesting piece. And it was a great story that goes behind buying it. And I was fortunate enough to get it, because I had made a prearranged deal with a guy in Denver, and he was going to, we were meeting at the guitar show, which is always the worst place to meet somebody to buy a guitar show, because there's 200 other people there that want to buy the same instrument. And he called me from the parking lot, and he says, well, I'm here. I said, well, we were going to meet at the hotel later. He says, well, I'm already here. I'm like, now I got to get him from his car to my booth at the guitar show without him getting tackled, because everybody can tell by the case what it is. So I get him over there, and actually had to fight off a couple of other guys, so to speak, but we got the deal done. And it's just one of the best playing, very versatile. I mean, any professional bass player has played a Fender Jazz Bass at one point or another, and they are staples. It's the staple electric bass.
Awesome. So you fought a few people off.
You fought a couple of people off to get it.
He
and
made
that's,
it to the
that's
booth.
fairly common. And and then I made him very happy. I mean, they're not cheap, they're expensive, and you have to pay up for this stuff if you want to get good quality, and originality is the key. I mean, that's the most important thing. I mean, if somebody had painted this a different color or changed any of the original parts, it wouldn't have its original value. It's only original once. Once you change it, once you modify it, it's never going to have the same value again.
So how do you verify that as you're looking at these for potentially to acquire them? How do you say this is somebody could have painted that on there or whatever? Obviously they didn't. That one's real, but how do you? It's
a lot of experience. I've been doing this. Basically, I started working in the music business at 13 years old, and I started messing with vintage guitars when I was around 15 or 16 years old, and I had a great mentor that showed me what was correct and what the factories did that was correct back then, and how to tell how things were modified. And there are many different things, and it's really all 5 senses. You can, if you grab something like this or any one of these guitars, they have particular smells. This guitar is made of alder. The body is made of alder. Alder puts off a certain scent, and lacquer that's on it puts off a certain scent. Okay, it kind of smells like your grandma's attic.
Can I smell it?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, dead serious. Put your nose right up to it and take a deep breath. You can smell it.
It does smell like.
It smells like grandma's attic. Yep, it does.
My grandma's apartment in Fort Lauderdale.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of one of the ways with the finish that you can tell. And as far as the electronics, when we buy something like this, we take it apart completely. So on a guitar like this, the neck bolts on, and we take the neck off, we take all the screws out, we take all the parts, we explode it. Basically, figure an exploded view of a schematic. We blow it all up. We look at all the original solder to make sure that the solder is original, and there's ways to tell how the solder has been modified or original. And we check everything to make sure that A, it functions properly as intended by the factory. The other thing is that the neck works. Basically, the reason why I say that is the neck can warp. And it's just like, did you ever have an apartment or maybe your parents' house back in the day had double hung windows, and on a humid day they would kind of get stuck because the wood would swell? Well, the same thing happens here. Okay, so there's a metal rod that runs through the neck of most guitars. I'll show you that. See, there's a little screw right there.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take the neck off and you can adjust that screw, and it turns a rod inside the neck that will actually straighten it.
I would never have thought you'd take them apart like that.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You know, there are some instruments, when you first open up the case, you can tell right away that the guitar's never been touched. And usually I can tell on something like this is when I first go to loosen a screw, if it's never been loosened before, the drying paint would stick to the inside of the screw. When you first turn that screw, there'll be a little popping sound. And sometimes when I hear that on the first screw, I know the guitar's never been apart, and I know I don't have to go further.
Okay.
And sometimes if I go and there's no popping sound, then I say, okay, somebody's been in here before. Why? It could have just been that the guitar had to go in for a repair.
Yeah.
Could have been something simple, you know. Sometimes just an electronic failure, something needs
like
to be.
popping the hood.
It's like checking the oil, right? Same idea.
Have I ever done that? Okay,
So-
but this is much more interesting.
So
Yeah,
with something
to me.
like this is something you can take apart. There's a lot to take apart. Where if you go to a guitar like this, very, very different. The neck is glued on or set into the body.
Okay.
And the way that this works on this particular guitar, I'll use this. No, it's okay. I do this all the
Okay.
time. I'm a seasoned professional.
I can
so
tell.
anyway,
I can tell.
the neck is glued in. It's a dovetail that's cut into the body. Okay. And then the
Okay.
guitar, the neck
Yeah.
sits in there and then it's glued in. Okay, and you can see this, like this instrument, okay, all these Fender instruments, these were utilitarian, very inexpensive guitars. Now let's look at this guitar. It's a completely different thing. You're talking
This is
about
a
being
Bentley.
bound. Yeah, more like that. Yeah, more like, you know, it's more like a Chevrolet, more like a Ferrari, right? So you have a lot of binding. It's all done. A lot of detail work. The beveled edge, 3 layers of pickguard material. Okay, now when you have to fix this, opening the hood on this is very different.
Yeah.
You can't really open the hood. What you have to do with this is first the knobs come off, then you take everything out and you drop it into the guitar. What you do is you take a piece of cardboard and you put like a tacky material on it and you stick it on underneath, and then when you drop it, it all stays where it's supposed to be.
Cool.
Take out a pickup, pull the whole wiring harness out, date the pots, make sure the pots are the electronic gizmos that are under the knobs.
Right.
Okay, and those have dates on them in a code.
Oh, cool.
Okay, and that code deciphers the year and the week of the year that the pots were made.
Wow,
so
there's
between
so
that
much to
and
it.
the serial number, which is inside the guitar on a
Yeah,
little
you
label.
can see in here.
Okay,
You can see
there's a
that little
label
red
in there.
marking, Yeah.
Okay, and then sometimes on later guitars, this one won't have it, but later guitars will have a serial number impressed, inked on.
How old is
here.
this guitar?
This is of 1956.
Wow. I can't even believe I'm getting to like touch these. It's so cool.
Yeah. Well, do you play?
My stepdad, Tom. Hey, Tom. He has played my whole life. Like, I've never been able to watch TV ever to this day. If you're in the house, you're listening. So I'll have to show him this.
Well, Lesley, I want to add too that we're actually going to provide that service at Songbirds for your guitars. So David and his company is going to have a office in our place. And so when you come in, if you have something that's been sitting under the bed that you really don't know if it's cool or valuable or not, we're going to be able to work with you and get that found out. So I think that's one of the cool things that we get to do here. And so you'll get an honest appraisal on the guitar for what it's worth.
Awesome.
Which I think is kind of a neat thing to do for when people come in, because everybody seems like they've got that uncle or grandpa's guitar under their bed and they just don't know if it's worth anything or not. And so we can take a lot of the guesswork out and let you have it done by a professional, which he obviously knows what he's talking about.
So cool. Well, this has been amazing. I know we've seen this one and this one. Are they going in?
This one is going in. We have another one of these, a different one
Okay.
of the same model. This is an ES350T
Bigsby,
with a Bigsby vibrato.
And that's it.
Right,
Cool.
and we have a different one, but virtually the same,
Okay.
but slightly different.
Yeah.
All right.
And quickly, if I can too, I want to
Yeah.
make sure that people realize these guitars are on the walls and kind of can be seen. We're going to be displaying them a little bit differently over there because we want to put animation behind the guitars, like I said earlier, and put
Awesome.
period correct memorabilia with them. There's going to be a lot more descriptors with the guitars, so it's kind of going to be at your own leisure to kind of go through the museum, but all the animation is going to be around them. So it's not going to be just the guitars and brick wall, which this is impressive, but it's going to have a lot more animation, be displayed differently. This is so we can just access them because
Right.
we've started a project here where we're getting people to become some of our signature artists, which we've got these cool picks that we had made, and some of the artists are starting to sign them for us now. So this
Can
is
I touch this too?
yeah, of course.
Okay,
This is
cool.
Kane Brown, which was here the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Local guy.
We
He's
talked about him on the show.
yeah, all of his band members are friends of mine and,
Oh,
and have been
cool.
awesome. And then so Blackberry Smoke was just here in Moon
Yeah,
Taxi, and
Tivoli, Moon
we've got some
Taxi.
others. So we want to have a featured wall. For the old timers, there used to be a place here in town called the Governor's Lounge, and they had a legendary band called 90 Proof that I was fortunate to be part of for a while. And that was back when they did the 8x10 glossies of people, of artists, and they'd have them sign them.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about that club is they had signatures from George Strait, Brooks and Dunn, Reba McEntire. I mean, like Garth Brooks when they were like doing the club thing. And it was really cool to kind of see those pictures and things as they go. So that idea was something we came up with to kind of repeat that concept at our place. So we want to kind of capture people as they're, if they're already successful, if they're on the way up, whatever, we want to be able to have them and kind of make that one of our, we call them our signature artists. So we will continue to display these in the space so you can
Cool,
see it. It'll be just a
awesome.
cool feature for you to see.
Definitely. I can't wait. And you guys are going to have to keep up with us, and we'll keep up with you
Yeah,
guys
totally. Thanks for the
about
time.
the
Yeah,
development
we
of the
appreciate
space.
it.
No,
Yes.
it's such a pleasure for all of us, including you guys
Yeah.
who are with us along the way to learn
Yeah.
about Songbirds and how big of a deal this is. I mean, the world's truly rarest guitar museum in like Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, and this space, we're not going to tell you where it is. It's like top secret. Is amazing. This is
Thanks.
amazing, and it was so interesting to learn about how you evaluate all these different guitars in
Yeah,
history.
it's a lot of years of growing up. You have to grow up with it. You have to really love this stuff when you're like 15 years old, or it's hard to get into it when you're older.
Yeah. It's never too late to learn, though.
No, you can always learn. I'm talking about the forensics part of it.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
part of
yeah,
it,
No,
I
I'm
don't
talking
think
about that
so.
part. I'm not
Yeah,
talking
no,
about
no.
the playing. Everybody
Yeah.
should learn how to play an
And
instrument.
can I plug
You know?
some people that's helped us out
Sure,
on this, if
go
you don't
ahead.
mind? Just
Yeah,
because
go
we
ahead.
always end up talking about the thing, but this has not been something that David and I have done alone. I mean, this
No,
has
definitely
been
not.
years of help with like Michael Mahaffey and Matt Adams with Made by Tiny Giant.
Absolutely.
They helped us out quite a bit on the logos and displays. Range Fabrication has done all the design on our casework. All of our casework is proprietary to us. Nobody else has it. We looked at museum companies and we didn't want to do it that way. We want to do something unique.
And
Thomas
it's all
Palmer.
homegrown.
Yeah, everything's Chattanooga.
products.
Yeah,
I
they're
want to
all-
make sure that that's
Awesome.
That's
yeah.
right. Thomas Palmer at Cogent Studios, who did the Flying Squirrel, he's like our brother. He and his team have produced that. Monica and
great.
Adam Kinsey have obviously been a huge influence on us. Monica's worked with me since the beginning on this thing with Adam. Who am I forgetting? T.G. Edwards has done our construction, and Ort Wine Signs. We talked about them earlier, and I'm sure I'm leaving somebody
And
out.
our
but-
whole staff. I mean, the other people
Yeah.
at Songbirds who have really helped us and
Yeah.
helped to push this thing along. It hasn't been easy. This guy works tirelessly. So,
It's never
there's
easy
a
when
lot.
you care, right?
There's a
No,
lot.
and I'm passionate about this, and so everybody on our team. I just wanted to thank everybody because we always end up getting to talk about this and all that. So I just want to make sure that they all got the recognition they deserve. We couldn't do it without them.
Definitely. Good job, guys.
Yeah,
and
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
share this.
Share.
From
Thank
our
you.
page to
Yeah.
yours.
Like and share.
Like and share.
Like and share.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I could hang out here. Maybe I will hang out
Yeah,
here
you
all
can
day.
hang out.
Ellis,
Yeah.
We probably have
let's
beer.
hang out. Oh,
See.
beer.
Yeah.
Cool.
Probably.
So I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go. All right, see ya. Peace.
Take care.
Rock
See ya.
on.